Hey everyone, this is Keith Saarloos, and it's 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and you are listening to the number one radio show, talk radio show, at 10 a.m. on Saturday mornings in the Santa Ynez Valley. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So today, on Chopping It Up with Keith Saarloos, we have Alfred, and I'm going to make you say your name out loud.
Okay, Holtzhoy.
Holtzhoy.
But phonetically spelled Holtzhoy.
So a lot of people, you might not know that name, or maybe you do, but you've definitely been to his family's legacy.
Rancho Market.
Rancho Market. So let's get into it, because I am excited about this and interested, because I go to El Rancho, for the last 25 years, probably 4 or 5 times a week. You know, getting a cup of coffee, picking up something to eat, getting a sandwich, you name it, right. We got it.
Well, I appreciate your business.
Well, thank you. So let's start in the beginning. What year did your family come to the Santa Ynez Valley?
1966.
1966.
I was 11 years old.
Really? Yeah. And where'd you guys move from?
Shell Beach.
Really?
Yeah, my dad was the meat manager at the Safeway in San Luis Obispo on Marsh and Johnson, way back when.
Okay, so in the 60s, your dad left that job and said, I want to start my own grocery store. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, what was I mean, I can tell you how we found the place.
Let's hear it.
That my dad and mom came over here and was sponsored by an uncle and aunt who lived in Santa Barbara. Actually, 2 aunts and uncles in Santa Barbara. And so
does that mean sponsored, like they were coming from a different country?
Yeah, from Germany. My parents both, they immigrated in 1954. I was born in 55, so I was made in Germany. So when they moved, Safeway moved them up to Shell Beach because he was the manager up there. They'd moved them all over the place. And so when they went on trips, they would come to Santa Barbara and they would go the back way. And go over San Marcos Pass. And they kept going by this little store called Buywise. And literally with the little owl logo and the whole bit.
Yeah.
And then one time they came by and it was closed. And they did some inquiry. Had their accountant at the time, who they met through a babysitting club, which ultimately became Glenn Burdett, Schutz & Booker, a big accounting firm eventually. And they said, well, what happened to the store? Well, they found out it was in the bankruptcy court. And my dad said, he's been trying to do a business of his own for quite some time. My mom wouldn't let him get into the garbage business, which he had a friend doing.
That's great.
So they went looking, and my dad was a butcher up there, of course, and he had befriended the guy who owned the Cadillac dealership in San Luis, and he always told him, if you ever want to go on your own, I will back you, and he did. So for I think $17,000, they owned El Rancho Market.
You're kidding.
Which they changed it to.
Yeah.
Because my dad thought that sounded real ranchy.
Right.
He didn't have any connection to the Hispanic culture at that point at all. Didn't even know what it was.
Got it.
So that's how we went by, and that's how we started.
Yeah.
And that was March of 1966.
So March of okay. Explain what the valley looked like to you in 1966.
Well, there was no stoplights at all. So you could go from Santa Ynez to Buellton without running to a single stoplight.
Got it.
At 14, I would drive that whole distance. Because my dad got the contract to do chicken necks to the animal park, the wild animal park that was out in Buellton.
Yeah.
And so he had an old El Camino, 3 on the column, if you've ever had to column.
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I know that thing.
Drove that thing back and forth, and you could go the whole way, maybe not even see a car sometimes the whole way. It was a very rural. In fact, the year I started high school, which is 69, Santa Ynez had just won the CIF football championship. Mm-hmm. And that's when there was a bunch of farm boys. The average weight was 250, 300 pound, big boys.
Really?
Yeah.
Back in the 60s.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And then they've never done that well since, because we became LA-ified, as they say.
There you go. Yeah.
So that's not a word, I don't think. Anyway,
no, it's a good word. But yeah,
so that's how
we use the word city-it. Yeah, city-it's great.
Okay. So that's how we found the store.
Yeah.
And we went from there.
So was there, this high school is definitely across the street.
Right.
Right. And I'm just trying to think in my head what would be around that at that time.
Well, the trailer park was next door, so
That's right.
that was also El Rancho Trailer Park.
Was it really?
Yeah. So the Fosses had owned that, and there was nothing on the corner. In fact, the only corner that was occupied was the parking lot of the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that alone probably was great for your business overall. I mean, in long term, you got all of those kids that are just right across the street.
When I went to high school there, because I graduated in '73, it was a closed campus. There was no high school trade at all for the longest time.
Okay.
So that's a relatively recent occurrence.
Sure.
Where they allowed the kids to get off. Anyway.
No. I love this conversation because part of the reason I wanted to talk to you is I've been going, like I said, I've been going into that store for 25 years, and there's still these really great photos all around, and pictures of you and your dad and butcher shop and things like that.
Right.
What were some of the things that your dad, going from Safeway, which would probably be, corporate a little bit,
and then Slaveway.
Perfect. And starting his own business, what were some of the bright ideas that he brought and said, when I have my own store, these are some of the things I'm going to do? Because right when you said he was a butcher by trade, immediately it goes to my mind that amazing butcher counter on the back of El Rancho, meat hanging in the back where you can still walk up to anybody behind the counter, and there's usually 2, 3, 4 people back there. Where if you go to like an Albertsons or any other store, it feels abandoned.
Right.
Where you guys always had someone there, and if you get a tri-tip, you're like, hey, can you season that for me? Or can you bone this or cut it or do whatever? They were like, sure, no problem.
Yeah. Well, my dad, when he got here, went to work for Safeway. Obviously, years before that, he didn't know anything about the American way of meat, but he was a German-trained master butcher. So he knew how an animal was put together and slaughtered and everything.
Which is a true art.
Yeah, it's very difficult to find anymore.
Yes.
And so I grew up that way as well, slaughtering meat and butchering and all that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So when he came to the store, he obviously focused on the thing he knew best, which is being a butcher shop, and put everything into it. And he's now spent several years, I think from 60-ish to 67, which is 66 when we moved. He was with Safeway 11 years, so he must have started before that. Anyway, but then he was he didn't speak a word of English, so a long time was learning the language.
Really?
And then slowly becoming and then became the meat manager, and they wanted to be a meat supervisor. Mm-hmm. In fact, they sent him to Hamburg, where I spent my 4th grade year in German schools.
Really?
Yeah. So he said they liked the people in California better than the people in Hamburg.
Yeah.
And so they came back.
So you brought up the fact that El Rancho is a 2-hour store.
Yeah, well, that's because you run into all your family and friends. It's a social hub. It still, to the most point, is. I mean, the valley's changed a lot over the years.
Sure.
But I think it still is, and people spend a lot of time. I know I go in there, and my wife was always going, she knows if she sends me for eggs, it'll be 2 hours later. Then I'll come home because I've spent, right? And
totally.
You see somebody you want to talk to, and you haven't seen them for a bit.
Well, I got to interject a little story of our family. So when we first moved here, we were a young couple and living in a rebuilt barn, and we had at that point, it sounds funny to say it today, but we had water and electricity, and we thought we were doing pretty well. Right. Had a potbelly stove in the barn for heat, and there was no smartphone, there was no internet, there wasn't any of that stuff at that point, right? There wasn't home delivery or DoorDash or anything.
No cell phones, nothing.
Nothing. And when we moved up here with a brand new baby and coming up, and my wife would go shopping at El Rancho, and she would she's going to kill me for saying this, but she would see someone that was like roughly our age and be like, "Hi, how are you doing? My name's Heather Saarloos. Nice to meet you. So you live here?" Kind of a thing.
Right.
And honestly made so many friends from where did you meet this person? Oh, we're at El Rancho and we're talking, and she looked like she was cute, and she was, dressing like me or this or that. And I just said hello, and hey, now we're friends, because we kind of were here in our early 20s. It was kind of few and far between with young people.
And that was you were talking about my dad. That was one of the things he did. He spoke to everybody. He knew everybody. Yeah. He had a kind word to say. He would have some sort of advice. Mm-hmm. That was just his...
a true proprietor.
True proprietor, yeah. He immediately immersed himself in the valley. I mean, the first club they joined was the Historical Society out there in Santa Ynez. They were part of the Elks and the Lions and the Vikings and on and on and on. He was always very much a part of it. And even Danish Days. We were immediately involved in that and making Danish sausage.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So I literally did that and cooked. In fact, I'll be cooking in the streets of Solvang this September here on the 16th, I think, Danish Days.
We're definitely getting Travis or Thomas Burkholm in here to talk about it. I go, he's like, we got to come back for Danish Days and pump it up.
Yeah, you do.
It's kind of neat to see even some of the quote unquote younger people picking up that torch that you guys blazed away, and they're like, this is important, this is great, we got to keep it going.
Solvang.
It is Solvang.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, so he was. That's what he did, and he would obviously dispense advice and I guess what I was trying to get to was a comment that he'd made. There's only the two most important people in your life are your butcher and your priest.
True.
So so back in the day, people would come and meat was we sold probably twice as many pounds of meat then than we do now, because people just don't eat beef like they used to. But we'd have a full counter with all the organ meats and round steaks and chuck steaks and things that people just don't buy anymore. Mm-hmm. But you sold it all the time. And liver. Yeah. Tons of liver, tons of everything.
It's interesting how you would even say that I won't get into the American diet aspect of it, but when you're talking about the different cuts, right? Because we butcher cows ourselves, and then, everybody wants a T-bone, everybody wants a tri-tip, everybody wants this. Right. But when you get like linguice, when you get, trite, or you get anything like that where you're like...
Or lots of hamburger.
Yeah, you're going to grind it all up, one or the other. But those cuts of meat are absolutely delicious. You just need to know how to prepare it. Right? And spend a little bit of time, learn about it, and you're like, oh, these are great. And then you eat it, and you're like, why have I never had this before?
Right.
So let's go back to the butcher counter a little bit. I can't imagine how many tri-tips have been sold at El Rancho.
Right.
It has got to be astronomical.
Yeah, I think my dad was the Santa Maria style barbecue was already involved, part of the Santa Maria culture.
Sure.
But down here, like the Elks and different clubs, they still did chicken. And my dad said, "Oh, we need to do tri-tips. We need to change it up." And since he was part of all these organizations, he did that. And so then tri-tip became the meat that we used, and then it became almost a commodity.
Yeah.
I mean, and then a bag of tri-tips, which is about 5 to 6 tri-tips, depending on the size, were almost a commodity in itself. That's how we got a connection to the sewer line. That's how we got things through county. I mean, everybody traded bags of tri-tips, right? Because that's what you did.
I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah, so when that big sewer line came through, that's how we got his little tee off. So when they made it, allowed then other people to hook up, he just had to dig down and hook up, and off he went. Because there's a hard pan back behind the store, and the sewers just didn't go through it. And the high school was dumping all their water from the showers into it. So we literally had standing water in the back there.
Really?
Back in the day, yeah.
So okay, I'm gonna.
So that's why they put the sewers in.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Between that and your fresh squeezed orange juice.
Oh, yeah.
I mean that became a problem for me, in all honesty, because I was drinking. I love orange juice.
I do too. Yeah.
It is so good, and the fact that you have the juicer back there.
Well, that was the. In fact, that's the part that I added to the store, because my dad was the meat guy. No question about it. And the produce and the meat and the groceries always were okay.
Yeah.
And then I had a pendant for gourmet foods and whatnot, and fresh foods. And I also loved orange juice. And so I really knew I wanted to do fresh squeezed orange juice. And the machines at the time they would slice it and they would put all this peel oil. They were just awful. So I did some research and found this company, FMC, which is a large food they're the largest producer of the machines that make the orange juice for like
it's Sunkist or whatever.
What's the frozen juice?
The concentrated.
Yeah.
Minute Maid.
Minute Maid.
Yeah.
So they had a special machine that would do the process without pushing the oils, which are not good, into the juice. And at the time, that machine, this is now 30 years ago, maybe more, they were selling for like $11,000. My dad said, "You're crazy." I said,
"That's as much as a house."
At the time.
Yeah.
So we bought one of those things, and once people have tried it, they'll never go back. To this day, we use an FMC juicer.
The other thing, I don't know if I ever saw it before, or maybe I wasn't looking, or maybe it was the stores I was shopping at, but make your own peanut butter.
Oh, yeah, the grinders. Yeah,
grinders.
That was another one of my thoughts, because I wasn't wanting peanut butter. I'm not a big peanut butter fan, but I grew up with Nutella. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you ever had peanuts with chocolate ground together.
Okay,
so that's what I wanted to do, and that's why I needed to get the machine. And then that morphed into Now we have 4 machines, I think.
That's amazing.
Yeah, over time.
So from your dad, your family involved, and then you kind of come onto the scene, did you know that this is what you wanted to do?
I knew what I didn't want to do, which was run a grocery store.
Perfect.
Yeah, I hated the business with a passion.
Really?
And spent I was a mechanical engineer up in Cal Poly, and then I ended up getting up in San Francisco.
Yep.
And then got into the computer trade, actually.
Really?
And did a lot of. I worked for a factory rep, and we sold for Apple, for Microsoft, for VisiCalc, which is the first spreadsheet,
Yep.
a bunch of different products.
Yep.
And did that for quite a while. And then decided, my dad made me an offer I couldn't refuse, which is to come home and run my own business. And I thought, now I understand.
Yeah.
So I did.
So walking into
that was 83, by the way.
So 1983. So you walk in 1983, Santa Ynez Valley. What happens under your guidance from 83 on?
Yeah.
It's got to be you saw the boom of the Santa Ynez Valley, really.
We did, for sure. Yeah, the valley completely transformed in a very short time from the very rural farm communities. I think they already had the horses were still already here.
Yeah. A lot of racehorses at that point.
Yeah, the shepherds were here,
Yep.
and they had back then or had already here. And the Firestones, I think, had just opened their first winery.
Yep. They opened that 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
like 70s. Yeah. Late 70s.
Well, we started the store in 67,
Yep.
so we watched that process. And then the Betancourts, they were putting in their first winery, Santa Ynez on Refugio.
Yeah.
And I still remember the guys coming in, planting that first orchard, or vineyard, rather.
Yeah.
And they would buy, even then it was a pretty much Hispanic-based group that did all that, and they would buy these, literally a basket full of tortillas and all this other stuff, and they put in this vineyard for the Betancourts.
Awesome.
And that's how I watched that happen.
Yeah.
And then of course all the wine, then the wine thing just blew up.
The wine, exploded, and then all of a sudden, how was it said to me so well? It says when you put it in a vineyard, you're doing it for yourself, but really the people who are benefiting are all of your neighbors. And I said, what does that mean? He goes, well, they get a free view. And I go, yeah, I guess that's true, because you look at it and they go, they don't have to weed anything, they don't have to pick anything, but they're overlooking it, and everybody wants to overlook a vineyard, right? And all of a sudden, a huge explosion of people just moving the Santa Ynez Valley.
What was that? What was the movie? Walk in the Clouds or something like that? Remember that?
There's Walk in the Clouds, yeah.
And this magical winery experience.
I love that.
Unfortunately, what they don't understand is being a winery or vineyard is you're a farmer.
No, I have said that. I mean, when we got into the wine business, not to hijack this thing, it was like what we really got into do was farming, and that's the part we love and enjoy. I mean, my dad's dream was to grow something from the ground and raise cattle. Right. And when we grew up, when we moved up here, there's 14,000 Fuji apple trees on Ballard Canyon, and we worked them for a full year and thought we had it all sold, and didn't, and had to push them on the ground, watch cows eat them, and then said, what are we going to do? And tore it out, put in grapes, and to this day we're still farming.
Farming is a brutal business.
It really is. And we've had a few people come in here, like strawberry guys and lettuce guys, and talking about it, and the difficulty really in the California farming, which is just the breadbasket of the United States. I mean,
pretty much.
It is unbelievable. Yeah. I heard some crazy number where it's like 50% of the produce of the United States.
Certainly the green leaf stuff.
Green leaf for sure comes out of
strawberries.
Yeah. Yes, and how the regulation right on a farmer is just it is kind of backbreaking in all honesty. If you want to farm, what you really have to be is either you're going to be in the office the whole time doing paperwork, or you're going to hire someone to do that, and you're going to be outside most of the time.
Yeah, working your butt off. Yeah.
Were you getting a lot of your produce locally?
Well, we tried to. I experimented with that quite a few times. One time I even bought a truck and started picking up my lettuce from Teixeira up there in Santa Maria, and then
TNA lettuce.
TNA lettuce, and then
which
there was
is the greatest name
Buena Vista. Yeah, I know. Don't go there.
I won't.
Okay. And yeah, you have to laugh every
You
time
have to
hear it.
laugh.
Yeah.
I know. It took me
It
years.
was Buena Vista was up there in Santa Maria, so
Yep.
we would go there. Appio was up there, which
Yeah.
is that they did the first bag lettuce. That was
Yep.
Nick Tompkins.
Santa Barbara Farms in Lompoc.
Yeah. And we still, so when we can, and in fact, as our new current produce guy is a long-term Santa Maria Orchid resident, and so he's very much part of it. And his dad was in the grocery business as well, Dan, and he is into getting local stuff.
Yeah.
So now we have local avocados, local tomatoes, local artichokes, local did they say avocados?
Yeah.
Some of the stone fruit,
Yep.
a lot of different things like that. And whenever we can get it, that's what we go for. We always favor them.
Yeah.
But the problem is the pricing has to work.
That is, and
Yeah.
that is the difficulty of farming in California, in all
Yeah.
honesty. Because at one point you're going, as soon as price becomes the driving factor,
Right.
getting it from South America and having it on a boat and traveling all the way up here, it just.
Well, that's what's killing the wine business. I hear now there's a lot of juice coming from outside of the.
Yeah, one of the things that's difficult specifically in wine, and this is my opinion only, which is there was a point where if you planted a vineyard, you were going to make wine from your vineyard. And that was the goal, right? To grow something from your ground. And basically, like we described Saarloos and Sons, we're a glorified farm stand, right? We're growing it out in the vineyard. We're going to go through the process, pick it, make it, and then sell it as close to the vineyard as we possibly can. Right. When it jumps into wines being sold at, say, a grocery store, right? Then all of a sudden the art, I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, slowly starts seeping out, and it becomes a beverage more than it is a expression of your property and where you live and what makes it special. Right. And as you can see, and if you drive up the 101, the amount of vineyards that are being torn out is pretty large. Yeah. Right. And so,
well, you're having to sell to three different people. You got to sell to a broker, to a wholesaler, and to the final customer.
Sure.
And that's a challenge. And each one gets a cut. So.
Oh yeah.
So the retail price, and
keeps creeping.
Yeah. And then we buy it and it's sitting in the inventory. So we end up having to, we'll sit on, probably in, solving alone, it's a couple $100,000 worth of inventory in each one time, and it just sits there. And you got to pay for it by the state law quickly. And you have to, and your goal is to move it out the front door. That's the key.
I mean,
if you don't,
the end cap. I've told many people then they're like, "Hey, we want to buy a bottle of wine, or we're in town, or where." I'm like, "Just go to El Rancho, man. The wine selection is insane. It's great."
Oh, thanks.
It's very good.
Yeah,
and now you got your beer section's awesome. Your liquor section's awesome. And for me, like you're going back to produce. You were one of the first stores that I ever went into it, and there are those Gucci level stores now that are basically standing on the back of what you guys did in the 80s, right? And a juice bar and everything else, and you're like, all of a sudden,
I have to say that the most, for me, the store, because I lived in the Bay Area for quite a while, and actually in San Francisco, because I finished a second degree at San Francisco State in business. And
you might be the most highly educated grocer on the planet.
And there was a store called Andronico's Stop and Shop.
Okay.
And they were God, what was I'm trying to remember the street where they were, but they were kind of, anyway, the north side of San Francisco. And they had the very first, pretty much everything you see in Solvang was in that store back then.
Really?
You're talking now, 30 years ago?
Oh yeah, more than that, 40.
40 years ago.
Yeah.
And they were always that's what I want to be. And,
really?
And they had what they call thrust kitchen, so they had a kitchen that pushed out into the store itself. So you're cooking. People were actually cooking for you right there and there. They had the amazing selection of fish and food, seafood. Meat and everything else, and then all the other gourmet things that we take for granted now were all there back then.
When did you guys put it in the deli at El Rancho?
Well, the hot deli. Oh God, that's been a while now. I don't know the exact, but it's been a while. How much?
No, we got plenty of time.
Okay,
Keep talking.
So when we did the expansion, and essentially the real deli started when we did the expansion in '94. So we did over the years. We did several expansions. We bought the store in '66. My dad did the first expansion in '71, where he took the store from 5,000 square foot total, so 3,500 square feet of selling space, to about 10,000 feet of selling, and 5,000 feet, which because the old store became the back room. And then...
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Because it was an old cement brick building that was built by Harold Aggergard as a boat shop back when the Kachuma was being filled up and everybody thought it was going to be a recreational lake.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. Really?
Yeah, that's where
this is the good stuff, man. I love this. I had no idea about that.
Yeah. So the fact is we left it there. There's an old hoop in the ceiling of the back room. That was where they used for lifting the motors and things up.
Really?
Yeah. Just left it because it was fun.
Yeah.
But that's where it started, and then he did several small additions to it over time, added probably another 2,000 or 3,000 feet.
Yeah.
And then I was coming back, and so in '94 I decided to. It took years to get to the point where I could convince him to do this, and the money was there, and all that. So in '94 I almost doubled it. So we added the whole section where the produce department is now, the whole deli and everything else. And at that point is when I put in the hot deli and everything that you now know, or assume that you see, and hired the first chef to work it, and which is Tim Neenan back then. He was a great chef, and that's how it started, really. So '95 is really when it was really first real.
So I've got two questions on this one.
Okay.
One, the Mississippi Caviar.
Yeah, that was funny you'd asked about that one.
Yeah.
So you must be talking to Jennifer.
Lopez? No.
So she's one of the longest. She's now worked for us. I came in '83. She came to the store in '84.
Okay.
And that's how long she's been working for either my dad or myself.
Got it.
And so she was part of her mom was part of the Junior League of Lompoc.
Okay.
And she had this Mississippi Caviar thing that you have to try this.
Yeah.
So we did. And it became such a big hit, so that's where it came from.
So okay,
Jennifer. And she was working in the meat department in those days.
Yeah.
And what we were doing is
that why it's over by the meat department?
Yeah.
It seems
it's still a meat department item.
That's amazing. Okay, keep going.
So she, at the time, we had, like you say, we were selling a lot more physical meat back those days. Because I mean, as a kid growing up, I was slice. You know what a round steak looks like?
Sure.
We would do pans of those constantly.
Really?
People would buy that meat. And so you would have but the way the people bought was waves. Yeah. So you'd need a bunch of people to be able to serve everybody quickly, and then they'd have nothing to do in between, which my dad typically did. What he would do is he would have them continue to clean. His big thing was always cleaning.
Sure.
And back those days, we had sawdust on the floor the whole bit, right?
Yeah.
It was a very classic butcher operation.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, what are we going to do with these people in between times? Well, we'll have them make Mississippi Caviar or salsa or all these other things. That's how that process started.
Got it.
Was to keep them busy and make hopefully some profit on it, which we did. And that's where Mississippi Caviar came from.
Okay.
Thank you, Junior League of Lompoc.
I've never seen that item anywhere else.
Yeah, it's pretty unusual.
It feels
we
like an
actually make it exactly like it's in their recipe. We still buy in Wishbone's Italian dressing just so it tastes the same. We've tried everything else, and everybody said you can't do that. It tastes wrong. Okay. And fortunately, the dressing has stayed the same. But we buy cases of this stuff. It's like we pour these bottles in there and going,
why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this?
I love it.
But it doesn't taste the same otherwise. It's weird. So that's where all that stuff came from.
Okay, question number 2.
Yeah.
The Jordan. What is the story behind the Jordan? Because here's
That's the number one selling sandwich at all 3 stores.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Jordan in our family was, I was coming home, was late. I got something to eat and was sitting there. And my daughter goes, "What'd you get?" And I said, "I just got a sandwich or whatever." She goes, "Did you get the Jordan?" I said, "No, what's the Jordan?" And they're, "Oh, you haven't tried the Jordan?" So you have a chokehold on the high school community with the Jordan. Number one, my son can put them away like it. He never puts it down. Just keeps going. Yeah. Right. So where did the Jordan come from?
There was a kid who worked for us.
Was he Jordan?
Yeah, and his name was Jordan. And he happened to live next door to my parents in John and Acres.
Okay.
And he worked for us, and he made it up. He just decided to make this thing up, and he switched from being a box boy to working in the deli.
Yeah.
And before going off to college, and he came up with this sandwich, and everybody. It was an instant hit.
Instant
hit, and it's amazing that it still is so popular, and it's a mishmash of all kinds of flavors, but it works.
It is just dragging it through. I mean, I love it.
Yeah,
it's
very popular, and so we have the store in Pismo and then the one in San Luis.
Yeah.
Well, the San Luis is next to, of course, Cal Poly. We're right across the street.
Oh, I can't imagine how many of those they go through.
Yeah, it's a huge hit up there.
You're basically a Jordan shop with a grocery store attached to it.
Yes, kind of. Yeah.
Okay, so we hit orange juice, we hit Mississippi Caviar, we hit the Jordan, the butcher shop, of course. Wine selection. What other thing? There's got to be another one.
Well, there is one that's close to my heart because I've been a coffee drinker forever, and I've done a lot of research into roasting coffee, starting in college, really, and always wanted to roast my own coffee. And so I had found this guy showed up with this little tiny roaster, 5 pounds at a time, and it was what was the name of that company? Fresh Roasters. I think it was called Fresh Roast.
Perfect name.
And it so that's what we started with. The company was supposed to grow and do all these other things. Ultimately, it went BK.
Okay.
So I happened to be in Hawaii in Kona.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
And so my wife and I'm always the person that has to go to the coffee shop and pick up the coffee drinks for the family.
I'm that guy too.
So there's a little store just down kind of south of Kona called Daylight Mind Coffee Shop.
Yep.
And I'm walking into this place and there's this whole list of where the farmers where they're roasting their coffee, right? And it's all the Kona coffees, which is not my favorite. Mm-hmm. And so I said that's all they had. So I said, okay, I'll try it. I mean, it was spectacular. It was like, wow, this is how a coffee can taste. How do you do that? So they just point over to the other side, to the room, and there's this machine over there called Loring Roaster. And it's from a company in Santa Rosa, California. Mm-hmm. And they're not cheap, but they are by far the best roaster. And I can go on. There's a whole reason why it's better. Mm-hmm. And I won't go, that'll be a long story. But it truly is a better roast. It does a better job. It's cleaner, everything. And that's so that's become a huge part. We do 10 to 15,000 pounds of coffee a month now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and sometimes in the wintertime more. So it's a real popular thing, and and it's a reasonably profitable. Coffee is getting weird though because the international economy is getting strange, especially in Brazil.
Yep.
Which has always been the cheap.
The hub.
Yeah, coffee. But overall, that's been I call that one of my wins.
Yeah.
You don't win at everything, but
correct.
Definitely. And then the hatch chili thing, which is I was up and a friend lived in Carbondale in Colorado, and they said, oh, we should go up to Aspen for the day. So we drove up there to walk around Aspen, a special place in the middle of the summer. And
I've always felt that Aspen kind of feels like Solvang if a ski mountain butted up to it.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. And it's also there's a lot of money up there.
Oh, yeah, big time.
But so in the middle of this one square was these guys roasting peppers, chilies. And I thought, oh, that's cool. So we bought some and tried them. I said, we need to do this. This is really good. Mm-hmm. So I came home and bought roasters for each store, and that became, and then got the people behind it, and now that's become a huge deal. We sell it. We're number one. I think we might be the largest hatch chili outlet, if you will, in certainly Santa Barbara County, if not this region of the state. I mean, we go through hundreds and hundreds of boxes, maybe a couple thousand boxes of hatch chilies.
Really?
Yeah, it's become a big deal. That's kind of fun. And again, it's when it focuses. I always say we are not in the grocery business. We are in the food business.
Correct.
That's our goal.
Yeah. I mean, El Rancho, more than anything, especially in this, Santa Ynez Valley, it's like you were just describing, right? It's a family business.
Yeah.
When you walked in, like you said, 2 hours of like, if you're lonely, go to El Rancho, right? Because if you walk around, you're going to see somebody you're going to sit there, talk to them for a while. There's always new products and all that great stuff. I mean, your condiment section is one of my favorites in the world because it's like, what do you want? Yeah. And there's everything from everywhere. Yeah. It's a wall.
Yeah, we even have probably the single largest sale section, maybe an 8-foot section, is all the British food, expats. So there must be a bunch of expat British people living here.
Is that really?
And we sell a ton of that stuff. It's amazing. Mushy peas and, spotted dick and all these weird, which is just, I don't even know what that is.
Tell everybody.
Well, it's a sponge cake with raisins in it.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Great.
All right. Nothing.
So Okay,
And
keep going.
It does really well. The other number one sales aisle is the dog food or pet food aisle.
Sure.
People up here love their pets.
That is no joke.
Yeah, I mean, they're here. They take it seriously.
They take it seriously to the point where a lot of business have to put up signs and they're like, "Hey, listen, we get it. It's your dog. We know you're a service animal, but there's a lot of food in here." Yeah, I get it.
And
So with El Rancho as being kind of like a hub, I mean, there's certain businesses that have been in the Santa Ynez Valley for a long time, and they feel more like the Valley's living room or the Valley's kitchen in your case than anywhere else, right? Where you walk in, you're seeing people, you're picking up the things that you need, and to me, it always felt a little bit more European.
Very much so. Yes.
To me, where it was like, rather than going to it like, a big box retailer where you're picking up bread, you're picking up this, and you're basically stocking up for the week, right? I would say you probably have a large percentage of your customers that are daily customers.
Daily customers, right.
Right. They go in for their morning coffee and to get something to eat, and they might be back for lunch, and they might be picking up dinner.
Yeah. Well, my parents, like I said, they came from Germany, from a very small town in Germany called Oberginsburg. And that's a town about the same size as Solvang. And they have, a couple of bakers, a couple of butchers. Well, back in the day, now it's changed, of course. But that's how they did their thing. And what was interesting about those stores, like the butchers, there might be 2 or 3 guys, and they would work together so that you could take a vacation. So one would close and let them. They'd send their customers to them, and they literally, that's how they did it. It was that kind of camaraderie in the food world in that little town. Yeah, and I think it was all around Germany actually.
So many people are disconnected from their food supply. Yeah, right.
Very much so.
Very much so. Where kids who think, while you were talking about the butchers, what percentage of people think that meat comes on a tray and wrapped, right? Versus somebody cutting something for you, and or I'll say it differently. I've never been excited about picking up any meat personally that was wrapped in cellophane, but I do really love picking up steaks or a tri-tip or something from El Rancho or wherever. And it's wrapped in butcher paper. They're weighing it. There's a tag on it, and you're like,
Well, I have a funny story.
Yeah, please.
Talking about where food comes from. I'm really comfortable with slaughtering animals. I did that. That for me, it's food. Yeah. And never thought of it any other way. And so we were doing a turkey, and we were using Diestel turkeys at the time. And Joan and Tim Diestel, nice people, and they had this video of their facility.
Keep going. I want to hear this.
So I said, okay, let's do a promotion, And so
So
I
you
had
played
this
the
video
video?
on the counter, and it lasted 2 days before people said, you need to take that down. I mean, he said, you understand little kids are seeing this.
Right. And you go, but that's where it comes from.
That's where it comes from.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
As a kid, I grew up with that.
Yep.
So it was, it didn't last long.
No.
So we try not to put, pictures. I mean,
I get it. Listen, I get it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wanted to do that you didn't? Like a big pie in the sky dream that you might have had at the time?
Well, I'm just expanding on the production of things. So a bigger bakery, bigger, excuse me. I pretty much, I can't think at the store level what else I would add. I mean, it's just bigger, so you would have, because when we did the Pismo store, I was able to do a lot more bigger. Yeah. And that's definitely, I could have a full olive bar. You can have a full, different things like that because there's room. Yeah. That store has almost 40,000 feet. Yep. And that's a much bigger space to tablet to work on, right? So we got to do a lot more interesting. And I wish I could miss, there's several departments in the store and here in Solvang especially that are too small. Okay. If I could grow them bigger, so I would say and that's why my dad bought the property that the Y is on, because he bought the YMCA property and the property next to it was just an empty lot. Yep. At the time, 8 acres for $50,000. Sure. Yeah, right.
And for the cost of only 5 juicers, you could own.
Well, there was a tri-tip involved in that as well. Okay. So he tried to move the store there. So he was going to use 4 acres because we have 3 now.
Yep. No.
just let me know. And he wanted to move the store there, and at the time, he didn't know this, but the county said, we are not going to allow any infill development. So nothing in between Solving and Santa Ynez. Anything that's existing, your grandfather did, nothing else, we're not going to give it to you.
Right.
And not only that, we're not going to let you hook up to the sewer or anything. It's like,
Right.
So that ended that. And then he met Stu Gildred, and who's a good friend of his.
Mm-hmm.
And Stu talked him into donating it to the Y, because Stu was into this.
Good old Stu.
Yeah.
Good old Stu.
He was very persuasive.
Very.
And
deal maker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
we're still good friends with their family. They're
you are
great people.
Yeah. Good people. Yeah. I didn't really know Stu well, but my dad did, and several friends. They speak very highly of him.
Legends,
exactly. Well, all the work he did, down in, was it Peru? Or I think he was.
Yeah, Mexico City.
Yeah, but that's where he came from. But he went back and did.
Yep.
The Santa Ynez Foundation did a lot of work down there.
Yep.
So he's the one who talked my dad into giving it to them. But that's where he wanted. That was supposed to be the next El Rancho location with more space.
Yeah.
But he did fine anyway. And then he developed the other 4 acres, Cali Pico, and it was fine.
Yeah. Well, number one, I wanted to say thank you for coming in and filling in a lot of questions I may have had about El Rancho just in general. But your family's legacy is alive and well. And it's somewhere I like we were saying, I love going there. I love seeing people. It is the Valley's kitchen. Get a cup of coffee or just, I don't know what I want. So I'm just going to go there and walk around for a little bit and pick up a tri-tip and go home and fire up the grill and have a pretty nice night.
There you go.
I just want to say thank you for spending time with us and thank you for your family's legacy, because when I think of, there's so many different reasons, and my buddy Jeff Seek says it really, really well. If you go to El Rancho on a Saturday afternoon, you're standing in line with every single person that's saying, how do I live here? And they're standing in line waiting to check out, and they're picking up all the real estate magazines and flipping through papers. And once he said it to me, I can't unsee it, because everybody is flipping around or looking on their phone at Redfin or Zillow or wherever. And I honestly think that your store, that grocery store has a lot to do with it, because once they're here, they're loving it. And then they're going to pick up some food for tonight or wherever, picking up a bag of ice, whatever. They're like, this is great. Yeah. I love this place. How do I live here? That's one of them. The other one that is just kind of near and dear to my heart is there are in a world where things feel like they're changing very, very quickly. When you go in, there is still, going back to food, being able to look at a stack of oranges, right, rather than a bag of oranges. Looking at fresh produce, looking at that butcher, that beautiful butcher station, where you feel connected. Like, you maybe not as far as putting it up on the cam, right? Or showing it to kids, but you feel connected to what you're eating, and you feel pretty great about it. Right. And in this day and age where most people are like grabbing food out of a Mylar bag that isn't, there's so many chemicals, there's so many different things on there that you're like, how is this food? Yeah. But
probably is not.
Yeah, probably is not. I always enjoy going in. I just want to say thank you for your legacy.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I didn't know what to expect, but this is great.
This is fun. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And for everybody else, thank you for listening. We were talking about El Rancho and the history of the Santa Ynez Valley on 105.9 Crazy Country. I've been your host, Keith Saarloos. You can find me over at Saarloos & Sons Winery pretty much every single day. Come in and buy some wine over there if you're not buying at El Rancho. So now, back to your regularly scheduled Saturday morning on Crazy Country 105.9.